Hi class. In this video we're going to talk about Chapter 8 from our Applied Management Skills textbook on getting things done through networks, relationships, and soft power. So this chapter is mostly, to kind of paraphrase that title, is about networking and using soft power in management. So let's start with networking. So to talk about networking, we first talk about relationships, because networking is all about building relationships. We discussed previously how the role of a manager is to influence others to get things done. Because a manager, you can't do everything yourself. You need to work through others. One of the biggest ways of doing that outside of your team is networking. You have to build relationships with people throughout your organization that can help you accomplish the things you want to accomplish. That makes networking very, very important. Now, when you're kind of investing in yourself, trying to build up your own capital, so to speak, to make yourself more successful, there's two kinds of capital you can work on. There's human capital, which is self-development, education. These are the things you do to make yourself better at the tasks of your job. Formal education, training, and it makes you more marketable too. So it allows you to be better at your job, make you more marketable. So education, training, those kind of things. The other kind of capital you can invest in is social capital. This is about relationships. This is where networking comes in. By networking, you build your social capital. And this is your ability to be effective as a result of the relationships you have and working with other people to accomplish goals. So what is networking? So we said it's about relationships. Here's more of a formal definition. So it's the proactive attempts by individuals to develop and maintain personal and professional relationships with others for the purpose of mutual benefit in their work or career. So a few different things I'd point out here, looking at the definition. So one is proactive. So it's something you do in advance of needing it. We'll discuss that again later. You work on it on an ongoing basis because it's valuable to you in the future. Maintain personal and professional relationships. So you can't just create a relationship and let it die. You have to put constant work into this to maintain, not just build relationships, but to maintain those relationships. And then mutual benefit in their working careers. So a networking relationship is two ways. That relationship should help you, but also helping them by helping each other. That's where the value of the relationship comes from, and why both members of that networking relationship want to be a part of it. So you want to help each other, mutual benefit. It's not a one-way relationship. All right, so when you're building networks, there's actually three different types of networks: work networks, social networks, and career networks. Now, most people, when they think of their network or think they're good at networking, they usually think of this first one, work network. So work network is the kind of network that people kind of build automatically. This is the people you work with, both in your company as well as outside your company, if you work with outside vendors. So any other department people across your company, that's your work network. And it's important. You need a strong work network, but it's something that you kind of have to create as part of your job to be effective. Your social network is a little more difficult. This is something that's built by hanging out with people after work, either maybe from your job or being a part of other clubs, organizations, outside of work, where you put in extra effort, outside of your daily work to build relationships and make connections. That's your social network. And then your career network is networking that's career focused, where you're making relationships with people intentionally, inside your company and outside your company and across your field, for the purpose of being able to help each other with your career, either to grow or find opportunities and that kind of thing. So it's more career focused. Now, there's also natural networks that occur inside of an organization. And you can classify these natural networks that occur inside organizations as either informal or formal. Now, the formal is what we usually think of as the hierarchy. Who reports to who works with who. That's the formal network. And it says here it's the way things are supposed to work. The organization built the formal structure a certain way. Certain people report to certain people because that's the way they intend for things to work and for information to flow and everyone to work together in that way. It's clearly defined and articulated, as it says here. But outside that formal network, there's an informal network. And despite whatever the formal network is, the informal network is the kind of the way people actually communicate across the organization and actually work together to get things done. Now, ideally, you want the informal network to complement the formal network. That's your best case scenario. You don't want these to be like in conflict with one another. You want them to complement one another. You don't want them to be in conflict with one another. You want them to complement one another. That's your ideal situation. But they are two separate things. One is formally defined, and one is kind of informally created organically, just as a result of people working together to get things done, however they have to do that. So in this informal network, there's 3 types of roles. There's the person who's the hub, the broker, and the peripheral. So the hub, you can kind of think of as someone is kind of a key person in a certain department, a certain level, a certain area of expertise within the company. And they're a central connector, and they're usually sought out for information. So if you want to know something from that department or that area of the company, you go to that person. They're the connector for that area. And they have relationships within that group, which allows them to be a great resource for information. And they usually use that information and their resources to help others get their work done. And as a result, they become go-to people. So people know when they need something from that area of the company, they go to that person. So they are a hub, as it's called. Another row is the broker. So this is the hub is someone's kind of the central person within a certain area or department. A broker is someone who's more of a connector between these different areas, and departments. So it says here they link across subgroups. So these people often are able to kind of reach out and connect with different parts of the organization and can talk the language of different parts of the organization and translate different terminology and so forth. And this is a really valuable skill, being able to reach across the organization and make connections. And it says here that the top 20% those in the top 20% of performance reviews are usually from considered brokers. So basically what it's saying here is that if you are a manager who's a broker, research shows you're more likely to be more successful and promoted more often and more rapidly. So this is a really great position to try to put yourself in as a broker, where you understand multiple parts of the organization, you're connected, and you're a go-between. And then finally is the peripheral. And this would be what a lot of your individual contributors are, who are not very well connected. So they don't have very many contacts. They often just kind of do their own thing. As a result, they're kind of seen as marginal in the network because they're on the edge. But they still have an important role, and they have a lot of important knowledge. And there's opportunity there to pull them into things whenever you can, because they may have things to add that you don't even realize. So it says here, be useful in a crisis or for their specialized knowledge. So you want to make sure that these people in the peripheral are kind of overlooked, that whenever something's going on, you bring them in because they could be really, really valuable. So don't discount those in the peripheral of the network. And it has this great graph, kind of shows you what this looks like. So they have 3 different departments here. You have product development, marketing, and production. So you can see in each area there's a hub person who's kind of the central person who's well connected in that department and is a resource for that area. Then you have these brokers, the BAS. They're kind of connected to multiple of these departments and kind of connects them together as a good resource for kind of reaching across departments. These are the ones that said that usually managers who have this role are promoted more quickly. And then finally, peripheral, you see they're on the edge. So they're not they're not connected at all. They kind of just do their own thing. But we definitely want to bring them into things because they probably have first-hand knowledge of things that we don't even realize, and they can be very valuable. All right. So learning to network. The first thing, just get started. So networking is something most people don't really enjoy. Of course, if you're introverted, it's probably more difficult than if you are extroverted. But key things, just get started. As I said earlier, with the definition of networking, it's proactive. So that means that you can't wait until you need your network to build it. You have to do it in advance. So it says here, dig the well before you're thirsty. You also want to take names. So constantly be on the lookout for people who might be valuable to be in your network. The book talks about one person who keeps a list of people that they know and people that they want to know. It also gives examples of you can watch the local newspaper and different things for announcements, people getting promoted, or key people in different parts of different organizations in your community. So the idea basically is just keep an eye out for people who might be good to get to know, and try to build your network with those people in it as much as you can. So just think about who'd be good to know, who you could possibly help, who could possibly help you, and build relationships that are mutually beneficial, as we discussed previously. Another one, never eat alone. So the book talks about how, during lunch, if you work in an office, lunchtime is a really great opportunity to network with other people. Some people think that, well, if they to eat at their desk, they'll look like they're more busy, but you're missing out on a great opportunity to get to know other people and talk to the people and learn from one another. And if you hear a dog crying, my apologies. Apparently I'll let them out after this video is over. So another thing is, if people see you constantly with other people at lunchtime, they'll think, well, you're someone who should be good to get to know. Other people are wanting to spend time with you, so they probably should get to know you too. So it just has a good visual to it. So it's good to don't waste time. Don't waste the opportunity that lunchtime provides when everyone stops working to eat to network. Next, have something to give. As I said, these are mutually beneficial relationships. So you need to help others if you want to be helped. So you need to have something to provide others and try to help them. And then finally, find a kingpin. Kingpin are people who have a lot of connections, are very influential, and they can be great people to connect you to others, great mentors, that kind of thing. So look for people who are kingpins to help you out. Now, most of the discussion so far about networks has been in person, but online networks, social networks, can be great for networking too. Now, they don't replace in-person networking. You can't beat the relationship. You can't form as strong a relationship with someone over social networking as you can in person, but it can be a great additional thing. So that